Right, ask.
Yes, as I told you that I took part on the attack on the railway station, and you know that you were informed about it by Heinrich Reinhold. We called him is the...
I'm not admitting names.
Oh, I see. No, but I see what
You
mean.
know,
Okay, I know. In any case, what happened the same day from your point of view?
Well, we knew that one of three targets in Jerusalem was going to be attacked between 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock. And an ambush was laid on. Armoured cars exit and entry to the station road, and nothing happened. We expected it about 12:01, which was the usual or the most common time for airgun adventures, and nothing happened. So I went to lunch at the CID mess, and Catling and others were there, and I'm not quite sure of the time now, but I think it must have been 3 o'clock, was it, or thereabout?
2:30 about.
2:30. We heard the siren go, and Catling said, "That's it." So we were going in order: station, prison, CID. But we didn't have to go to the prison or CID. The station was it. And as we got there, we saw British Constable take a suitcase out, and we saw an armoured car chasing you, I suppose, and there was a lot of firing. So we were in plain clothes, and we knew that Yamin Moshe was the obvious retreat. So we went up there, and we were stopped by a police constable, and had a certain amount of difficulty in convincing him.
With your English.
So Catling speaks much better English than I do, and convinced him that he was superintendent CID, so he allowed us in, but he was unhappy. However, we went in, and the first stop was the synagogue. Had a look in there and saw 2 grenades. I wouldn't swear that we saw 2, but we certainly saw 1. And we called the Arab Legion were in there then, and we called an Arab Legion guard, and then we started working around the houses, and we went into one where there was a wounded man. I think he was wounded in the thigh, and the girl with him.
No, I think the girl we didn't see, she escaped.
Not your girl, another girl.
I see, from the place.
Tall, blonde girl. Now your girl had been circulated for a long time, I might mention. She'd been in other incidents, in Tel Aviv and somewhere else.
No, not this girl.
Well, we had a description of a blonde. Was she a blonde?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we had a description and of a car that she travelled in, which was a black taxi. Is that right?
No, she didn't drive a taxi at all.
She wasn't driving. She'd been seen in one on more than one occasion. In any case, in the vicinity of terrorist incidents. Excuse me calling them terrorists, but that's what they were when I was there.
Okay.
And that was one. So we put an Arab Legion guard on there, and then in the course of having a look in other houses, the next one we went into, there was a certain amount of ammunition, and I think this was a very serious one. It might have been Feinstein, I'm not sure.
Not much, very pity, little, because most of them really we collected them later. We found them in the place we put it.
Well, we got some ammunition, and I'm not quite
ammunition,
sure.
yes.
Yeah. Well, we didn't get arms.
No,
I said ammunition.
Yes.
Then as we were coming out of another house, an Arab Legion sentry shot one going out. Now, I'm not quite sure. That might have been from...
Feinstein was so wounded he didn't leave the quarter.
Ah, well,
both
those two we saw then. And who was the third one?
No, there were 4 arrested. Feinstein and Azulai were arrested in the quarter because
Yeah.
they couldn't meet. They were
Yeah.
seriously wounded. 2 others were captured in the what we call Merkaz Mischari, the center of trade, the way between Jaffa Gate and Yemin Moshe. Over there were Arabs, a lot of Arab places.
Yeah. And was one of them shot?
And one of them is shot.
That's right.
Horowitz and Bouton.
Horowitz, that's
Horowitz
right.
and Bouton.
And Bouton, the big fella.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, he was like this.
Yeah. Well, by this time there were dozens of police in the place and the whole of CID, and they were taken to hospital. And
Do you remember 2 who were arrested?
now,
Yes,
before
please.
I go any further, we were assured, and I'm not quite sure now who it was, but I think it might have been Feinstein, the name seems to stick in my head, who was a Haganah agent in the Irgun.
Who?
One of those
Yes,
3.
yes,
Who?
Azulai.
Azulai, that's right.
He was condemned to death as
Yeah.
well and
Yeah,
graced.
And the Irgun said, the Hag said he was their agent.
Yes, that's right.
Uh,
That's right. He was Azulai.
yeah.
Yes, and he was condemned to death together with Feinstein. The day the trial started 5 months later, on the 25th of March 1947, and the trial lasted for 8 days. After it, the court found Horowitz and Bouton not guilty, and Feinstein and Azulai guilty, and they were condemned to death. The same day, I'm talking in order to remind you things. The same day, it was Wednesday night before Pesach, and the 2 cells in Jerusalem were playing with Dov Gruner and his friends, 5, and Barazani. There was not enough room. And the day later, Friday morning, Feinstein and Azulai were taken to Acre prison, and they have been there up to the 14th of April. I remember exactly this day. And then, the same day, the 14th of April, Dov Gruner and 3 others have been taken to Acre, and Feinstein and Azulai brought back to Jerusalem, and this was on the 14th. On the 16th morning, Gruner and his friends have been executed. On the 17th, the chief in command of the army, General what's his name? I wrote his name here. Wait a minute. Macmillan. Macmillan confirmed the death sentence for Feinstein and Barazani, and graced Daniel Azulai. And 5 days later, they committed suicide, a couple of hours before they were hanged.
Yeah. How did they
Now-
get the bomb?
What?
How did they get the bomb?
I'll tell you, if you like. It appeared in books already.
Does it?
Yes,
No, I
it
didn't
appeared.
know.
Yes, it appeared. But what I am interesting to know about Azulai, a man whom I was arrested because of him. I told you that I took him on my shoulders and I spent time to change clothes and so on. Later, after 20 years, we have been informed that he was an Haganah agent in our lines.
Well, we were informed then.
You were informed. By whom?
By the JA.
By the J. Who was in J with the from you?
Well, there were 3 lawyers who used to come to CID headquarters to plead for releases.
Yes.
One was...
Levitsky?
No. One was the attorney, became Attorney General.
Yeah.
Hausner.
Hausner?
Hausner was one. One who lived... I've got his name. His name began with B. Brett. Not Brett.
Not Joseph?
His father had a flower shop in Jerusalem. Not Joseph, no, I know him.
I don't know. Okay.
Well, in any case, there were three, all connected with the JA, and it was one of these. I think it might have been Hausner. Who pleading for their release. You see,
Yes.
there was nothing that I could do about detainees. Yes, but convicted prisoners, no.
Yes.
But in any case, he said, he's one of our men. He's our man, or something like that,
Yes.
which meant that he was working for them.
For Haganah.
Yeah, and this caused a certain amount of consternation. That was it. So there was nothing I could do.
Yes,
or anybody else in
But
CID.
look, I want to ask a question. If they sent someone to the Haganah to the Izadel, and he went to the attack, he took part in the attack, he didn't take part in the attack in order really to destroy the railway station or to cause any harm. His duty was to pretend himself being one of a very loyal member of the Izadel.
Yeah.
So
Yes, obviously.
why did you punish him at all? Why didn't you release
Well,
him?
we didn't know all this then, did we?
No, he came and he said to you, this lawyer, that Azulai is one
He had already been convicted by military court.
to death. He was
Well,
convicted to
must
death.
have been,
Yes.
yeah.
Well,
There was
you
nothing
are-
we could do about it.
I know, but I don't think maybe they referred first to other places, not to the CID. Maybe it was a political question to place
Yes,
this man.
I've no doubt that appeals were made to the Chief Secretary by the JA. What's his name?
And this was very confidential.
Teddy
Teddy
Collock
Kollek.
was the JA liaison with the government.
Yes.
I think he called himself JA Security, didn't he, at that time?
I don't know.
Well, he did. He's not now. Is he still Mayor of Jerusalem?
Yes.
Give him my salams
Yes.
if ever you see him.
Okay.
I was quite fond of Teddy Collock, but I didn't really trust him. It was always said in Palestine that the CID were dependent on the Hague for information. Well, that was a lot of bloody nonsense.
CID is dependent on what?
On the Haganah,
Oh,
or
information.
the J
J,
rather than
yeah.
the Hague.
This is the bluff.
There was always political contact, obviously, between the government and the JA, and certain leading members of the JA were in contact with certain police officers, and at one stage the Hague or the JA provided information, but this was in the early days when they started killing Jews, when the Irgun started killing Jews in 1942. Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, and when they first blew up CID headquarters. The JA did cooperate then, but after that, the amount of information they provided was, well, it was dangerous to use, in my opinion. I never depended on the JA. As a matter of fact, I had more contacts with the Revs than the
With whom?
revisionists in Tel Aviv. My knowledge of Palestine started in Netanya, then short time in Haifa, and then Jaffa, Tel Aviv. So that I was never in contact with the official side of things
Okay.
until Jerusalem. When, as I say, these three lawyers used to come to CID headquarters, but always to plead, never to give information.
Yes, of course.
But in the course of conversation, well, if you talk for half an hour, like we've been talking, you must get some idea of what's going on. That was it. But I certainly didn't depend on them for information. But certain officers did, and the admin believed them implicitly. However, so where were we?
Yeah. Yes, please.
I was going to say,
May I repeat the question? I'm interested especially in the case of Daniel Azoulay, who
Yeah.
was arrested in the attack on the railway station together with Feinstein, condemned to death, and then graced, but was not released.
Yeah. Well, as far as I was concerned, or as far as the CID was concerned, I can't speak for any other officer, I can speak for my own section only. I was concerned with investigating and collating information from the district CID, which was Jerusalem CID, and assimilating what information we could and detaining him. Now, if it was a criminal case, as this was, such information as was necessary to procure a criminal conviction, whether in the civil courts or the military court, was passed to the criminal branch, and they proceeded. The criminal branch had their own prosecutors, and the military court had its prosecuting officer, who was not the name you said. I forgot his name now.
Stubbs.
Well,
Colonel Stubbs, or Major Stubbs.
It would have been Major. Well, you remember better than I do. But once it went to the military court, there was nothing the CID could do. But I have no doubt whatsoever that the information that Azoulay was, they probably said, a friend of the Sultan, was passed by the JA to senior people in the administration, that is, Chief Secretary or one of his, probably the Chief Secretary himself.
Who was the Chief Secretary? It was after Shaw.
It was after, well, Macpherson?
Green, maybe?
Not Green. Shaw was the last
No,
one.
Shaw, no. Shaw
Well, it was
left
before.
after King David. Shaw left.
Did he? Well, it was Macpherson then, wasn't it?
I don't know. But there was a High Commissioner at that time.
That was Lord Cunningham, wasn't it?
Yes. Is he still alive, Cunningham?
Oh, I doubt it. He was very sick. No, Gurney.
Gurney,
Yeah.
yes. Is he still alive, Gurney?
No, he was killed in the lair.
Oh.
In an ambush.
But in order to grace Azoulay, I guess there was also the High Commissioner to do it, or the Chief in Command of the British forces, General Macmillan.
Yeah.
Is Macmillan alive?
He can't be.
No, he was too old.
Well, I'm nearly 70. He must have been at least 80.
Oh. But you think, in order to grace a man who was condemned to death, the grace was because of political ideas? Yes, he was graced politically.
Same political ideas as you had.
Yes. No, I want to know if to grace him, you think it was a political action of the administration in Palestine at that time, or it came from London?
Oh no. Mind you, a sentence of death, the High Commissioner would naturally have to refer it to the colonial minister, Secretary of State in London. And if the colonial secretary had any political reason for not going ahead, he'd have said so. But it didn't bind the High Commissioner. In fact, if the Colonial Office said don't do it, they wouldn't have done it.
Yes, but you think the order not to do it, not to confirm his verdict, came from London, or originated in Palestine, but finally it was in the hands of the Palestinian administration, or it came
Death sentence.
Death sentence.
It was in the hands of the Palestinian administration. It was in the hands of the GOC. But the High Commissioner was also Commander-in-Chief of HN forces in Palestine, in his hands. But although the admin was, that is the Secretariat, was the government of Palestine, they were responsible to the Secretary of State for anything done in the country.
I want to tell you one thing. The week Azoulay was graced.
What does graced mean?
Pardoned.
Pardon.
The grace is maybe the French word, so I don't understand. I mean, instead of being hanged, he was sent to a life
commuted to life
How do you say
imprisonment.
this action? Not grace? I mean,
No, commuted to life imprisonment.
commuted, but the action is pardoned.
No, if he was pardoned, he'd be released.
how
And
do
the
you say-
only
oh, I
one
see.
to pardon him is the Queen.
So how
or
do you
the king
say
then.
commuted?
Yeah,
Oh, the verdict was commuted.
to life imprisonment.
The verdict is commuted.
Yeah.
The verdict is commuted. Oh, this is what I mean. Now, when the
No,
verdict
the sentence
okay.
is commuted.
the sentence is commuted.
Yeah.
I understand. The sentence is commuted.
Mm.
Now, the day he was commuted, the week he was the sentence was commuted for Azulai.
Mm.
6 other young Israeli boys have been executed.
No, never 6.
Yes, 4. Not I tell you, Gruner and his friends were 4 in Acre.
Yeah,
This was on the 16th of April,
yeah.
and on the 22nd of April, Feinstein and Barazani in Jerusalem.
Yeah, well,
Yes, yes.
didn't they blow themselves up?
Yes, yes, yes.
Right,
So
yeah.
they blow themselves,
Right.
but they blow themselves because they were not. They had the.
Because they were not commuted, right?
I mean, this means we can concern them. They
Yeah,
have been
What about
executed.
these 4? I don't remember 4.
Well, Gruner was for his action in Ramat Gan.
Gruner, yes. I
And the
remember.
other 3, the night the British soldiers and policemen were
Oh, Acre prison.
bitten. They were bitten all over the Palestine, in Tel Aviv, because.
Yeah. Well, you must be right.
Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
there,
You know, no doubt
you
about
remember
it.
that.
Yes. I want now the same week, 16 and 22 of April,
Mm.
6 people were hanged. Not their verdict, the sentence was not commuted.
Mm.
Now, when you have heard that Azulai has not been hanged as he should be, but his sentence was commuted,
Mm.
you as chief of the CID section there,
Mm.
you didn't think that this can give an idea to the Irgun why Azulai suddenly, 1 of 7, his sentence was commuted? You knew the reason of it, yes? Because you knew that
We
he
suspected because
who suspected
I
what?
had-
What did you suspect?
that he collaborated with the hang.
You didn't know it for sure?
Well, I was told by a respectable citizen, and I took it that. But that it wasn't the first person they said that of, and some of them were wrong. It doesn't matter. But in any case, it was without the hands of the CID. The man had been sentenced to military court. That was it. It was a matter for the GOC and the High Commissioner,
JLC, what the
the
JLC?
General Officer Commanding.
General Officer Commanding, which was Macmillan.
Yeah. And besides, this was a very important case, of course.
Yes.
But don't forget, there were other cases going on all the time. There was terrorism going on all the time.
Yes.
And we didn't have time to spend months on this case. As far as we were concerned, it was a terrorist gang captured in the act of terrorism and murder.
Yes, there was
BC King,
there
there
was
a man
one
there.
kid there.
He was a CID man. Put the suitcase there and it went up as soon as he put
Yes,
it
I
in.
know. Sergeant he was.
Yeah, Keane, detectives. Well, they didn't call him detectives in Palestine.
He was one of your men?
He was district CID.
District CID in Jerusalem.
CID. But he was one of my countrymen.
He belonged to Turner.
See?
Turner, you say? Roe Turner?
Turner.
Turner, yes?
T-U-R-N-E-R. And that was that, as far as we were concerned. Commuting the sentence had nothing to do with us. Nor to the criminal branch who prepared the case.
No,
for
I
the
understand that you could not communicate a sentence. I asked only, this was a political action, that if I would like to have more information about it, this is the High Commissioner who doesn't live anymore, the Chief in Command who doesn't live anymore, and for me it's very... How would you suggest that where I can get some more information about what happened? Negotiations about it or things like this?
ask Hausner.
Who?
Hausner.
Hasner.
Yeah.
You think so? Okay.
Well,
okay.
as I say,
You think it's our house now?
he
Gideon Hausner, the
Gideon, yeah, who, in a sort of way, was a good friend of ours.
He's a very nice fellow.
Yeah, and Gilbert B. There was one very anglicised advocate.
Yeah, I know. You know, during the war trials, most of the times the Irgun members, they didn't take advocates to defend themselves. Instead, they gave declarations saying that you have not the right to stay in Palestine and so on and so on. They didn't defend themselves, like Dov Gruner himself.
Ah, well, like the IRA,
IRA.
refused to recognise the court.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dov Gruner did it, Meir Feinstein did it,
Yeah.
and all the rest. What I'm wondering about, Azulai also gave a statement, and he said, we don't recognize the right of you, etc., etc. So this he irritated the judge. He took a part
But he
as a
was-
member of the Irgun.
But-
Why did he do it? Why didn't he take
That
someone
state-
to defend himself?
that statement wasn't prepared by him. It was issued to him
By whom?
by the Irgun.
Yeah, but why didn't he say, I want to defend myself? Why?
Because he was told to read the statement.
By the
Publicity, I presume so.
No, the Irgun never forced people to do things like this. No,
Invited-
they
invited
did.
them.
They did not. They did not force. It happened, you know, in the Acre prison when 5 were captured,
Yeah.
5 brought to jail, 5 brought to court.
Yeah.
Only 3 declared.
Yeah.
2 defended themselves and they saved their lives. And this was not according to the instructions of the Irgun, and nothing happened to them.
Well, that's a bad way of running an underground organisation.
Good.
Talking about Acker, do you mind?
What?
Do you want to talk more about this?
If you told Clark about Heinrich Reinhold, he sent me your minutes, I mean all what he recorded. You personally, you meet Heinrich?
No.
You didn't meet him?
No. I went back from leave in, when was the KD? July, I think, wasn't it?
What's KD?
King David.
Yeah, July 22nd.
I went back from leave in September. And people had been arrested, maybe you, I don't know, but
No.
people all over the place were arrested. And I got all the papers together and questioned every officer who had been involved. And after a certain amount of research, it became obvious to me that this type was involved in King David. He was ex-army, he was an ex-engineer, he was supposed to be an explosive expert. He was an explosives expert. So I sent out messages to the 3 district CIDs, no trace. And an extensive search was made for him in Jerusalem, Tel Aviv particularly, but elsewhere. And one day in CID headquarters, a girl and a man, a Sephardi, came to CID and asked to see me. And she said that she was his sister, and that he was missing, and his mother was dying, or something like that. And that the fellow with her was her husband. Well, he was not. He was a Yemenite Jew. He could have been her husband, but no, living with her. But it seemed to me quite obvious that they were seeking information on behalf of the Irgun, or possibly the Hag, or the J, or it's Letty. So I intensified the search. Now, in the course of weeks, we knew that he was scared stiff, because it had been said by somebody, I'm not quite sure who, that he was going to be hanged when he was caught. And for a couple of weeks he was trying to find somebody to surrender to safely. And we heard that he was in Haifa, and things intensified. And he surrendered in Haifa.
He surrendered in Haifa, and what happened when he surrendered?
Well, he was interrogated.
And set free.
Not for a long time.
But he came to Jerusalem after he has completed his work in Haifa.
Complete which work in Haifa?
In the Irgun. He was transferred to Jerusalem. You know, he took part on the attack on the king. You know, Anne Reinhold took part in the attack. He was a second in command of the King David Hotel. And this means on the 22nd of July. On the 30th of October, he was supposed to be the chief in command of the attack on the railway station. And this was the last day, on the 29th of October, that he was seen in Israel, in Palestine.
Was he in the Jerusalem group?
Yes.
Not in the Tel Aviv group?
Right.
No. Well, we learn every day, don't we? In any case, we couldn't find